Your company just posted record earnings. Your CEO sent an all-hands email celebrating unprecedented efficiency gains. The stock is up 18% year over year. Your desk is empty. Not because you were fired, not because you quit, but because your position was optimized. Your manager called it a workforce realignment. HR called it a strategic restructuring. The earnings called it operating leverage through intelligent automation.
Yeah.
They didn't replace you with a person. They replaced you with a subscription. 3 months ago, you thought your job was safe. You have a degree, you have experience, you show up, you execute, you deliver. You follow the rules of the old social contract. Get educated, work hard, stay relevant.
Right.
But the contract has been rewritten in code you can't see by models you don't control for an economy that no longer needs you to function.
God.
This is not a recession. GDP is growing. Corporate profits are robust. Productivity is soaring. This is something new, something worse. This is the ghost boom.
Wait, it's heavy, isn't it?
It is heavy. Welcome to the Deep Dives, everyone. We are digging into the Season 2 recap of Surviving AI with Carlo Thompson. And reading that script just now, it really sets the tone.
It does. It absolutely does.
Because it doesn't feel like a sci-fi warning anymore. It feels like I'm reading the morning news for early 2026. The buffer time, that sort of grace period we had where companies were just playing around with AI, it's just gone.
Yeah, the experiment phase is officially over. We spent 2024 and 2025 watching companies, run their pilot programs and figure out what these models could actually do. And now the results are in.
And the result is this thing you call the ghost boom. Which, it sounds like an oxymoron. How can a boom be bad for workers?
Because we're seeing a fundamental decoupling. For the last, forever, GDP and employment were basically handcuffed together. If a business was growing, if profits were up, they had to hire more humans to handle the increased output.
Right, you need more bodies to do more work.
Exactly, but the ghost boom breaks that rule. Look at the macro numbers we're living in right now. Corporate profits are incredibly healthy. Productivity metrics are just going through the roof. But professional hiring has completely flatlined, or in many sectors, it's dropping fast.
They're growing revenue while shrinking the headcount.
That is the ghost part of the boom. The money is flowing, the output is there, but the people who used to sit in those chairs are gone. They've been ghosted by the economy.
And we have the raw data to back this up now. I'm looking at the Challenger Gray and Christmas report from just last month, January 2026. This is nuts. Job cuts surged to over 108,000 in a single month.
Yeah.
That is the highest January total since 2009. So we are looking at great recession numbers. But the economy isn't in a recession.
That's the scariest part for a lot of people. In 2009, companies were slashing payroll because they were bleeding cash. They were desperate. Today, they're cutting from a position of immense strength.
Because they found a cheaper way to do the exact same work.
A cheaper, faster, and infinitely scalable way. And look, there's a huge accelerator we have to talk about here, the DOGE initiative.
Right, the Department of Government Efficiency, which honestly started as a meme a few years back.
It did, but now it's a federal mandate. The government is actively using AI to reduce its own headcount. And regardless of where anyone stands politically on this, whether you think the government is bloated and needs trimming, or you think these cuts are reckless, we just have to look at the market signal it sends.
It's a massive green light.
It is the ultimate permission structure. The federal government is historically the slowest, most bureaucratic entity in the country. It's notoriously hard to fire anyone there. So when they come out and say, we are using intelligent automation to permanently reduce our workforce.
Every Fortune 500 CEO is taking notes.
Exactly. They go to their board of directors and say, look, if the feds are doing this, we have zero excuse not to automate our own back office. It normalizes mass technological displacement.
Okay, so the backdrop is grim. The ghost boom is a reality for you listening to this right now. But the mission of this deep dive and the whole point of Season 2 wasn't just to sit here and admire the problem, right? We're not just here to panic.
No, panic doesn't pay the mortgage. The mission was to build the protection playbook. And the core philosophy of this whole season is binary thinking.
Binary thinking, meaning there's no middle ground anymore.
None. The middle is evaporating as we speak. You are either adapting to this new reality or you are becoming obsolete. You're the windshield or the bug.
I definitely want our listeners to be the windshield. So let's map out what we're doing today. We are going to walk through the 4 main pillars of this playbook: the Untouchables, the infrastructure boom, corporate survival for the laptop class, and finally, business ownership.
It's a comprehensive roadmap for surviving 2026 and beyond.
Let's start with Episode 7, the Untouchables, healthcare and public safety. Because if you're looking for a safe harbor, The Bureau of Labor Statistics data is pretty clear here.
It's very clear. While the tech sector and finance are just hemorrhaging jobs right now, healthcare and social assistance are projected to grow 8.4%. That's the fastest in the entire economy.
But I want to pause you right there, because I think people hear that and say, cool, I'll go get a job doing billing at a hospital and I'll be safe.
And that is a fatal mistake. That is exactly what we warned about in episode 7. Working in healthcare is not a blanket shield.
Clinical is protected, but administrative is highly exposed.
Yes. Think about medical transcription. That career is just dead. It's gone. Medical coding, they are facing 40% or more automation right now. If your job is to sit in the back office, take a form, and punch numbers into a database, the AI does not care that it's a medical form.
It's just data routing.
Exactly. The algorithm sees data fields. It doesn't know what a patient is. So if you're in healthcare admin, you are just as vulnerable as a data entry clerk at an insurance company.
So what actually makes a job untouchable? You laid out these 4 protection factors in the season, basically the immune system against AI. Let's walk through them, because this applies to any job, really.
Sure. Factor number 1 is physical examination or physical presence. I call this the robot gap.
Right, because an AI can diagnose you from a chart, but it can't draw your blood.
It can't start an IV. It can't physically reposition a patient to prevent bed sores. It can't tackle a suspect in a dark alley. If your job inherently requires you to manipulate the physical world, especially the unpredictable human physical world, you have a massive structural moat.
Okay, physical presence makes total sense. Now, factor 2 is empathy requirements. And I'm going to push back on this a little because, honestly, I've interacted with some AI agents recently that sound incredibly empathetic. They're patient, they apologize perfectly, they don't get annoyed.
Sure, they mimic empathy beautifully. But we call this the paradox of empathy. Simulated empathy is perfectly fine for low-stakes transactions. If Amazon loses my package, I don't need a deep human connection to process the refund. The AI saying, "I'm so sorry for the delay," works fine.
Right, I just want my $20 back.
Exactly. But consider high-stakes therapeutic alliances. Mental health counseling, end-of-life hospice care, delivering a terminal cancer diagnosis to a family.
Yeah, you don't want a screen doing that.
You absolutely reject the screen doing that because in those moments, human beings require a connection with an entity that shares the mortal experience.
Mortal experience. Meaning the AI can't actually care because it has nothing to lose.
It can't die. It doesn't feel pain.
Yeah.
When a nurse holds your hand while you are in agonizing pain, that gesture has value precisely because that nurse is a biological creature who knows what pain feels like. The shared vulnerability is the product.
That is profound. It's not just about saying the right words, it's about the shared stakes of being alive.
We are already seeing data showing patients will actively reject AI advice in emotionally volatile situations, even if the medical advice is 100% accurate. They want the human.
Okay. Factor 3, high-stakes judgment.
This is all about making decisions under extreme duress with incomplete, messy data. Think about ER triage.
Right, it's chaos.
Total chaos. You have alarm screaming, 3 different patients coding, a limited supply of O-negative blood, and you have to decide in 4 seconds who gets the resources. That is an unstructured nightmare for an algorithm. Algorithms need clean data or they hallucinate.
But humans adapt.
Highly trained humans thrive in it. They use intuition, which is basically just compressed rapid-fire experience.
And the final factor, factor 4, is regulatory signing authority. The legal moat. This one is almost purely bureaucratic, but it might be the strongest one.
It is the strongest one. It's the who do we sue factor.
Right.
Legally, an algorithm cannot hold a medical license in the United States. It cannot hold a DEA number to prescribe narcotics. It cannot sign off on a psychiatric hold.
Because if something goes wrong, the lawyers need a human to point the finger at.
Exactly. The liability must terminate at a human being. So even if the AI perfectly analyzes the MRI and drafts the entire treatment plan, a licensed human doctor or nurse practitioner has to review it and sign their name. Their signature is their job security.
So when we run the job market through these 4 filters, physical presence, empathy, high-stakes judgment, and legal liability, who comes out on top?
Registered nurses and nurse practitioners are the absolute gold standard right now. They hit all 4 factors. The demand for them is structurally insulated from AI.
And on the public safety side.
Police, firefighters, paramedics. The automation risk for those roles is sitting around 5 to 10%.
Because the physical environment is just too messy.
You can't train a Boston Dynamics robot on every single permutation of a burning, collapsing residential home. It's impossible.
So the takeaway for the Untouchables is don't run away from the mess. Run toward it. The messy, physical, emotionally heavy human problems are where the safety is.
If you're hiding behind a screen, the AI can find you. If you're in the physical trenches, you're safe.
Which perfectly transitions us to episode 8, the skilled trades. Because this is the grand paradox of the 2020s, isn't it? We spend decades telling kids, don't work with your hands, learn to code, go into tech.
And now the tech is writing its own code.
Exactly. The very technology that is wiping out the white-collar laptop jobs is simultaneously creating the biggest blue-collar boom in modern history.
The infrastructure boom. We called this episode the 100K jobs nobody wants.
The numbers in the source material for this are staggering. U.S. data center construction alone is projected to hit $153 billion by 2030.
And it's the power consumption that really drives this. AI requires massive, massive compute. And compute requires power. The projections show data centers could consume up to 580 terawatt hours soon.
Which is what, like 12% of total U.S. electricity?
Something like that, yes. It's unprecedented. We basically have to rewire the entire national grid to support the intelligence of these new AI models.
And an AI agent can't pull copper wire.
No, you need human electricians. We need legions of electricians to build the substations, run the high-voltage lines, and manage the impossibly complex wiring inside these hyperscale data centers.
And it's not just the power, it's the heat.
The cooling is critical. When you have 50,000 GPUs running at maximum capacity training a new model, the heat generation is industrial. If the cooling fails, the entire multi-billion-dollar AI stops. It melts down.
So HVAC technicians become the actual guardians of the digital economy.
They absolutely are. HVAC techs, pipe fitters, plumbers, we're staring down a shortage of over 500,000 plumbers by 2027.
But let me ask the skeptics question here. Because, the tech bros are saying, oh, we'll just build humanoid robots to do the plumbing. We've all seen the videos of robots doing backflips. Why won't robots just take these trade jobs in 5 years?
It comes back to the difference between structured and unstructured environments.
Explain that.
A factory floor is a structured environment. The lighting is perfectly controlled, the floor is perfectly flat, and the car chassis arrives in the exact same position down to the millimeter every time. Robots are brilliant at that.
But a job site isn't like that.
Not at all. A plumbing or electrical job in the real world is an unstructured environment. Imagine sending a $2 million humanoid robot into a dark, 100-year-old crawl space.
Yeah, good luck.
Right. There's a rat's nest in the corner, the wood is rotted, the previous owner did some illegal DIY wiring in 1985 that isn't on any schematic. The robot encounters that, and its logic models just break. It can't improvise. A human electrician looks at it, curses for a minute, and then creatively solves the problem.
So physical unpredictability is the moat.
That and mandatory licensing. You can't just spin up a cloud server and call it a master plumber. The barrier to entry involves thousands of hours of apprenticeships. That scarcity drives wages up.
Let's talk about the wages, because I think a lot of listeners still have this outdated bias. They hear blue collar and they think low income, back-breaking work.
We have to destroy that myth right now. In 2026, entering the trades means paid training. You are earning while you learn, which means zero student loan debt. And if you specialize in industrial work like data center, HVAC, you're easily breaking 100 grand a year.
And you mentioned a specific strategy in the episode, the hybrid strategy.
Yes. If you combine traditional trade skills with modern tech savvy, you become a unicorn. You're the person who physically installs the industrial smart sensor, but you also know how to program its network interface.
You bridge the physical and the digital.
Exactly. You are utterly unfireable.
Okay, so healthcare is safe, the trades are booming, but let's look at the elephant in the room. Most of our listeners are sitting in an ergonomic chair right now, staring at a laptop. They are in the corporate machine, and they're feeling the walls close in.
The ghost boom hits the laptop class the hardest, no question.
This brings us to episode 9. Corporate survival. And the defining trend here is this terrifying word, unbossing.
Yeah, Gartner put that term on the map. They predicted middle management would be cut by 50%, and we are watching it happen live.
Break down why the middle manager is suddenly so endangered. Because these people make up the bulk of corporate America.
Think about the actual function of a middle manager. Historically, they are basically human information routers.
What do you mean by that?
The VP of sales comes up with a strategy. They pass it to the middle manager. The manager breaks that strategy into 10 tasks, assigns those tasks to 10 junior employees, monitors their progress, collects the work, packages it into a report, and sends it back up to the VP.
They route the information up and down the chain.
Exactly. Now, introduce enterprise AI. You have an AI dashboard that can monitor the real-time output of every employee. You have AI agents that can automatically distribute tasks and check the quality of the submitted work.
The routing is automated.
Completely.
Yeah.
So if the machine is routing the work and tracking the metrics flawlessly, what exactly is the middle manager getting paid $130,000 a year to do?
Wow. When you put it like that, it's pretty glaring. So how do people survive this? You broke corporate employees down into 3 specific archetypes. Let's go through them.
Number 1 is the resistor.
The person fighting the tide.
Right. They sit in meetings and say things like, I prefer to write my own emails, it adds a human touch, or I don't really trust ChatGPT with my data. They are in active denial of the macro reality.
And what's their fate in 2026?
They are the first wave of layoffs, period. They are too slow, their output is too low, and they are too expensive. It's the equivalent of a corporate accountant in the 1980s refusing to use Excel because they like their paper ledger.
Yeah, you just get left behind. Okay, what's archetype number 2?
The adapter. This is where the majority of decent employees are right now. They use the tools to survive. They'll use Claude to summarize a PDF or GitHub Copilot to help write a script.
But they aren't safe.
They are just treading water.
Mm-hmm.
Because very soon, using AI won't be a special skill. It will just be the baseline expectation. If everyone is an adapter, then no one stands out. You're still vulnerable to the next restructuring.
Which leaves the 3rd archetype, the only safe one.
The champion. The corporate champion doesn't just quietly use the tools at their desk. They actively lead the integration of AI for their entire team or department.
They become the hub.
They become the AI node in the office. And to get there, we laid out a highly tactical 30-day playbook.
Let's give them the playbook right now. What is phase 1?
Phase 1 is immersion. You pick exactly 3 tools. 1 general conversational model like a ChatGPT or Claude, 1 industry-specific tool like Harvey if you're in law, and 1 automation platform like Zapier. You force yourself to use them every single day for 30 days. You build the muscle memory.
And phase 2?
Phase 2 is externalizing it. Teach your team. Hold a lunch and learn. When someone complains about a bottleneck, you step in and say, hey, I built a custom GPT that does that in 10 seconds. Let me show you.
You want to be the person executives point to when they talk about modernization.
Exactly. You want the VP to know your name as the person solving the efficiency problem, not the person complaining about it. Which leads to phase 3. Lead the pilot program.
And I remember a quote from the episode that I wrote down because it was so good. Don't ask for permission to worry. Ask for resources to improve.
Yes. Don't go to your boss crying about whether your job is safe. Go to your boss and say, I've mapped out a workflow using AI that will save our department 40 hours a week. I want to lead a 2-week pilot to prove it.
You align yourself with the company's goal of cutting costs, but you position yourself as the architect of those cuts rather than the victim.
Precisely. And while you do this, you must maintain an AI impact log.
Right, the insurance policy.
It is your mathematical shield. You document every single hour you save the company. You document every increase in output quality. Before I built this automation, we processed 50 claims a week. Now I process 200 with 0 errors. When the layoff committee meets, you drop that log on the table. You make yourself mathematically difficult to fire.
That is so tactical. But let's look at specific professions, because general advice only goes so far. How does an accountant become a champion? Because balancing the book seems like something AI is uniquely perfect for.
It is. The purely mechanical act of bookkeeping is a dead profession. If you just reconcile ledgers, you are done. The pivot for accountants is moving purely into advisory and storytelling.
Storytelling with numbers.
Exactly. The AI can generate the perfect cash flow spreadsheet in 2 seconds, but the AI cannot sit in a room with a stressed-out business owner, look them in the eye, and explain that they need to delay their equipment purchase by 6 months, or they will face a liquidity crisis.
So you move from creating the data to interpreting the data for human strategy.
Yes. Move up the value chain.
What about lawyers?
The discovery phase. The endless hours of junior associates scanning thousands of emails looking for a specific clause. Dead. AI does it instantly and better.
So what's left for the lawyer?
Courtroom presence. High-level negotiation. reading the emotional state of opposing counsel, client hand-holding during a terrifying lawsuit. AI can draft the airtight contract, but humans have to negotiate the nuance of signing it.
Okay, one more. Sales. Because this was a really sharp division in the data.
Oh, sales is splitting right down the middle. SDRs, the sales development reps who do the cold calling and cold emailing, that role is evaporating.
Because AI agents can do outreach at scale.
An AI agent can research 10,000 prospects, write hyper-personalized cold emails to every single one based on their recent LinkedIn posts, and send them all at 2 a.m. A human SDR cannot compete with that volume.
But the senior sales roles are safe.
Enterprise B2B sales are very safe. When you are selling a $2 million software contract to a Fortune 500 company, you are navigating incredibly complex human politics. You are building trust over steak dinners. You are reading the room to see which VP is secretly against the deal.
And AI can't buy you a steak.
And AI can't build trust. So again, move away from the commodity tasks and move toward deep relationship complexity.
But look, let's be real. Some people listening to this and they hear about unbossing and having to constantly prove their worth, and they're just exhausted. They want off the corporate hamster wheel entirely.
Which is the most logical reaction to this economy.
And that takes us to episode 10, the offensive pivot into business ownership. Because right now, being an employee feels like sitting on a trap door.
It's the concept of a single point of failure. If you are an employee, your entire income stream relies on one person, your manager, waking up and deciding they still need you. That is incredibly high risk.
So entrepreneurship is actually the safer bet now.
In the AI era, yes. We call it the resilience economy. When you own a business with multiple clients, you diversify your risk. If you lose one client, you lose 10% of your revenue, not 100%.
But the nature of starting a business has changed completely because of AI. You talked about this binary business outcome.
Right. Let's look at path one, the adopter. You start a business today as a solo founder, but because you leverage AI agents for your marketing, your customer service, your coding, and your bookkeeping, your output is equal to a 5-person agency.
But you're only paying one salary, yours.
Exactly. Your payroll costs are near zero, but your production is massive. Your profit margins are explosive.
In path two is the resistor business.
The traditional business that refuses to use AI, they have a massive payroll, high overhead, and they operate slowly. The adopter business will simply outcompete them on price and speed and crush them.
So what are the specific models that are actually working for solo founders in 2026? Because it feels like everyone is a generic AI consultant right now.
And generic consultants are starving. The first model that is crushing it is niche AI implementation services. Look, 77% of small businesses know they are falling behind on AI, but they are terrified and confused. They don't know where to start.
So you step in as a guide. But you have to be specific.
Hyper-specific. Do not be an AI consultant. Be the AI implementer for independent dental practices.
I see. You learn exactly what software a dentist uses, and you automate it.
You walk into a dental clinic, you show them how an AI voice agent can answer their phones 24/7 and book appointments directly into their calendar, saving them $40,000 on a receptionist. They will happily pay you 10 grand to set that up.
That's brilliant. What's the second model?
Service arbitrage. You run a traditional digital agency, let's say SEO or copywriting, but behind the scenes, you aren't writing a single word. You have a fleet of specialized AI agents doing all the heavy lifting.
You are basically the human interface for the AI output.
Yes. The client is paying for your strategy, your taste, and your quality control. They are buying the result. How you generate that result using AI at zero marginal cost is your secret to 90% profit margins.
And the third model, which I think is my favorite, is the fortress business.
A fortress. This is where you combine the absolute safety of the skilled trades with the explosive margins of AI.
Walk us through what that looks like in practice.
You start a plumbing business. That's your physical moat. Robots can't unclog a residential drain, but instead of running the back office like it's 1995, you use AI. You have an AI dispatcher routing your trucks perfectly to save gas. You have an AI customer service bot handling panicked midnight calls. You have automated dynamic pricing based on demand.
So you have the unautomatable physical service, but tech company overhead.
You can undercut every legacy plumber in your city, respond twice as fast, and take all their market share. It is an unassailable business model.
Okay, but before someone quits their corporate job to start a fortress business, what's the reality check?
The decision tree is simple. Do you actually have deep domain expertise in the niche you're targeting? Do you have 6 to 12 months of financial runway? And are you obsessively willing to learn these new AI tools?
And if the answer to the runway question is no,
Do not quit your job. Build the AI systems on nights and weekends. Use the ghost boom to your advantage. Automate your day job so you have more free time to build your escape pod.
That's powerful. All right, let's pivot to episode 11, the retraining roadmap. Because we have listeners right now who are looking at their specific situation. Maybe they're 40 years old, they have kids, a mortgage, maybe 50 grand in savings.
Yeah, real life constraints.
Exactly. They realize their current job has maybe 2 or 3 years left before the algorithms eat it. They know they need to pivot, but they absolutely cannot afford to stop working and go back to a university for a 4-year degree.
And they shouldn't. Going back for a generic 4-year degree right now is incredibly risky. The central principle of the retraining roadmap is this: generalists die, specialists survive. You do not need a broad education. You need the fastest credential path to a highly protected destination.
We highlighted 4 specific case studies in that episode, and I want to walk through all of them because seeing the actual ROI of these pivots is crucial. Let's start with David.
David was in a classic dead-end situation. He was working mid-level customer service at a logistics company. His risk score was essentially 100%. The AI voice agents are coming for his job.
So what do you do?
He targeted cloud engineering. He didn't go get a computer science degree. He executed a 24-month targeted sprint. He studied at night and got his CompTIA A+ certification to get baseline IT knowledge. Then he stacked AWS Certifications Solutions Architect, SysOps.
So he just got the exact certs the market demanded.
Right. And within 2 years, he pivoted into a junior cloud architect role, managing the infrastructure that hosts the AI. He moved from the target to the protected zone. High ROI, low cost.
Let's talk about Sarah. She was in retail management, completely burned out, dealing with shrink and unpredictable hours.
Sarah wanted to get into the ultimate safe zone, healthcare. But she had bills to pay, so she used the laddering up strategy.
Explain laddering up.
Instead of quitting to go to nursing school full-time, she took a fast 6-week course to become a certified nursing assistant, a CNA. She got a job in a hospital immediately. Now she is inside the fortress. She has physical presence. She is safe.
But CNAs don't make a ton of money.
No, but they have stability.
I know.
While working as a CNA, she used the hospital's tuition reimbursement program to take night classes for her LPN. Licensed practical nurse. Then she did an LPN to RN bridge program. She upgraded her armor incrementally while keeping her cash flow positive the entire time.
That is such a smart, pragmatic way to do it. Okay, the third scenario was Jennifer. She was a senior paralegal.
Right, and we just discussed how legal research is getting destroyed by AI. She saw the writing on the wall. Her law firm was testing an AI tool that could do in 5 minutes what took her 3 days.
So instead of fighting it, what did she do?
She pivoted into legal operations. She realized the partners at her firm were too busy to actually manage the new AI software. So she became the manager of the legal factory. She oversees the AI contract analysis tools, manages the vendor relationships, and ensures the data security protocols are met.
She stopped doing the legal work and started managing the systems doing the legal work.
Exactly. She elevated herself above the automation.
And the final one, Marcus, the bookkeeper.
Marcus was charging clients by the hour to manually input expenses into QuickBooks. He knew his days were numbered, so he pivoted to become an AI finance architect.
What does that mean practically?
He went to his clients and said, "Stop paying me an hourly rate to do your data entry. Pay me a flat fee of $5,000 and I will build you a custom AI agent system that automatically categorizes all your receipts, reconciles your bank feed, and texts you a daily cash flow summary."
Oh, wow.
He transitioned from selling his time as an operator to selling a system as an architect. He builds the machine, hands them the keys, and charges a premium for it.
So the universal thread through all 4 of these stories is urgency and specificity. Find the specific skill the new economy needs, get the fastest legitimate credential, and move.
Do not dabble. Pick the destination and sprint toward it.
Which brings us to the end of our roadmap. Episode 12, the final immunity test. We aren't talking about new software here. This is a behavioral diagnostic to see if you are actually going to survive the ghost boom.
It's the reality check of the entire season.
Yeah.
And we have to start by acknowledging the silent displacement.
Yes, the Gen Z employment crisis.
Look at the data for young workers ages 22 to 25. They simply aren't getting hired for entry-level white-collar roles. The junior analyst, the junior copywriter, the entry-level coder, those jobs used to be the training ground.
But companies don't need a junior analyst when an AI can write the first draft of the report perfectly.
Right. So the bottom rung of the corporate ladder has been completely sawed off. The companies are just quietly closing the door to new entrants.
That is terrifying for new grads. But for our listeners who are already inside the building, you created 3 behavioral profiles to test their readiness.
Profile number 1 is the delusional.
Right.
This is the person who says, my industry is totally unique. My clients will always demand a human touch. A machine could never understand the nuance of what I do.
And what happens to them?
They are completely shocked when they are called into a sudden 15-minute Zoom meeting with HR and let go. Delusion is the most dangerous state to be in right now.
Okay, profile 2 is the tinkerer. And I honestly think this is where 80% of people are right now.
It is. The tinkerer uses ChatGPT on the weekends to write a funny poem for their spouse. Or they use Midjourney to generate a cool avatar for their gaming profile.
But they feel good about it. They feel like they get AI.
And that creates a lethal false sense of security. They think they are tech savvy because they interact with the tool, but they never actually integrate it into their critical money-making workflows on Monday morning. They are playing with toys while the economy restructures around them.
Which leaves the final profile, the survivor.
The survivor treats AI like a core survival skill. They are aggressively auditing their own daily tasks, finding the bottlenecks, and forcing AI solutions into those gaps. Or they have looked at their industry, realized it's doomed, and are already executing a retraining sprint to pivot into a protected trade or healthcare role.
They are taking decisive action.
Yes. They aren't waiting for their boss to train them. They are self-rescuing.
In that episode, you brought up a psychological concept that really resonated with me. Quiet cracking.
Yeah, the mental toll of the ghost boom.
Describe what that feels like.
Quiet cracking is the exhaustion of knitting a sweater you absolutely hate. You are staying in a dying career purely because of the sunk cost fallacy. You tell yourself, I spent $100,000 and 6 years of my life becoming a mid-level graphic designer.
Yeah.
I can't just throw that away to become an electrician.
You're clinging to the past identity.
Yes. And every day you go to work, you see the AI getting better, you see your client roster shrinking, and you quietly crack under the anxiety of knowing you are on a sinking ship but refusing to jump into the lifeboat.
The market doesn't care about your sunk costs.
The algorithm does not care about your student loans. It just executes.
So, to wrap up this diagnostic, what are the final metrics a listener needs to evaluate themselves on today?
You need to answer 3 questions right now. First, do you know your specific automation risk score? Have you actually looked up your exact job title and seen the probability of displacement?
You have to face the raw number.
Second, do you have a specific displacement timeline? Are you safe for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? You need an estimated expiration date so you know how fast you need to run.
And the third question.
The most important one. Did you use an AI tool to complete a piece of actual revenue-generating work this week? If the answer is no, you are actively falling behind.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. The ghost boom, the Untouchables, the infrastructure boom, the corporate champion playbook, business ownership, and retraining.
It is the full protection playbook.
Summarize the macro picture for us as we head deeper into 2026. What is the ultimate split?
The economy is undergoing a violent K-shaped recovery. It's splitting into 2 distinct realities. Group A consists of the resistors, the generalists, the middle managers, and the back-office admin workers. They are facing permanent obsolescence and wage deflation.
And Group B?
Group B is the corporate champions, the highly credentialed specialists, the trades workers building the physical infrastructure, and the solo business owners leveraging AI. Group B is using the exact same ghost boom productivity to make more money with more leverage than ever before.
So it comes down to a choice. Here is the call to action for everyone listening. If you felt a knot in your stomach during the section on the skilled trades, if you realized you actually crave working with your hands and you want real physical job security, you need to go back and listen to episode 8.
Dig deep into the realities of those union apprenticeships. The path is there.
If you realize today that you are just a tinkerer in your corporate office and you are vulnerable to the unbossing wave, listen to episode 9 and episode 12.
Get the 30-day playbook. Become the AI champion for your team starting Monday morning.
And if you are just completely done, if you want to leave the employee system entirely and build that fortress business we talked about, episode 10 is your exact blueprint.
Look, my final thought for everyone listening is this. Action produces information.
Say more about that.
Anxiety lives in the space of indecision. You cannot think your way into a new, safe career. You can't sit on your couch and strategize endlessly. You have to act your way into it.
You have to start moving.
You have to download the tool and build a bad workflow. You have to call the local trade union and ask about the intake test. You have to buy the domain name for your niche consulting business. The moment you take physical action, the crippling anxiety of the ghost boom starts to fade because you are finally steering the ship.
Do not be the observer of your own obsolescence. That is the line that's going to stick with me. Don't just watch it happen to you. Your 30-day challenge starts this Monday.
Make it count. You have the playbook. Now execute it.
Incredible stuff. Thank you for guiding us through this deep dive into surviving AI. To all our listeners, good luck out there. Stay sharp, stay adaptable. We will see you next season.
Thanks for listening. Join us next time on Surviving AI.